All right. Elasticity of supply, always positive, not a big deal. Run quick note, elasticity of supply. Here's three supply curves. S1, S2, S3. They all have about the same slope, right? But one of those curves is inelastic, one of those curves is elastic, and one of those curves is unitary elastic. And we can tell that because, first, they're straight lines, and second, because we look at where they intercept one or the other axes. When the curve comes down by extension and intercepts the quantity axis, it's going to be inelastic. And if you want to remember it, just think of it that any inelastic curve goes through that way when you draw it long enough. If it intercepts the price axis up here, it's going to be elastic. And if it intercepts the origin right here, it's going to be unitary elastic. Okay, just rough rule of thumb. And that's even if I change the slope on them. If they all look like they're really steep, you still look for where do they intercept the axis. So look at this supply curve right here. Definitely inelastic. But look at the supply curve next to it, right here. Going to be elastic. Okay? Rule of thumb. Not to make a big deal out of it, might be one question on an exam. And in fact, I'm pretty sure there is a question like that for the exam, but it's in a pool. And when you take your exam, it draws 30 questions out of the 50 question pool. So you may never see it. But if you do, I told you so.
Yeah, we're going to be so prepared for this exam. I feel like this is my first aha moment.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Let's do the other two elasticities very quickly. Income and cross elasticity. Income elasticity, I use the symbol Greek letter small eta. Looks like an N. The income elasticity is the percentage change in the amount that people buy, quantity demanded, just like that's the numerator in every elasticity calculation. But now it's divided by the percentage change in income. Y stands for income. The math is the same. Without going through the calculations, suppose I told you that the income elasticity is negative 0.34. And suppose that for this particular good, incomes rise. I'm not going to say how much, they just go up. And this is the good you're selling, we'll call this good X. If incomes rise, what's going to happen to your sales of your product?
Increase. They're going to go down.
This is the coefficient. Your economists and marketing people have measured it. And you hear in the paper that incomes are going up by 4% next year. What's that going to do to your sales?
Going to rise.
Increase. Not if it's negative, because it's an inferior good.
That's what I was after.
Oh, how do you know it's an inferior good?
The negative.
Well, think about it. If this goes up, so that's positive, and this is a negative number, right? The coefficient is a negative number. A negative equals something over a positive. It's got to be a negative number up there, right? You've got to have a negative over a positive to get a negative. So this is telling you that if incomes rise, your sales are going to fall. And that's the definition of an inferior good. What's an example of an inferior good? Ramen noodles.
Bush Light.
Bush Light, very good. It's a good that if you had more money, you would buy less of it. That's what we just said.
So when we look at that, like I had no idea we were talking about an inferior good.
When it has a negative coefficient for the income elasticity, it's an inferior good.
Okay, so when we're like, okay.
So this is where it gets important. What sign does it have?
So when we're talking about an inferior good, if there's a negative,
Negative coefficient, negative income elasticity. I know a couple of you are talking about having to leave early, so I don't want to bury ourselves in this. Just think about it. If your income goes up by 4%, what are you going to do for ramen noodles? You're going to decrease your purchases. That's going to give you a negative coefficient. Okay? So how do you suppose people are doing these days who sell inferior goods?
probably pretty well.
Why?
Because the economy is not very good.
Perfect. Exactly right. And this has been going on for several years, by the way. And it became apparent to me the other day when we drove out by Keystone and a few other areas and found several new Dollar General stores that I hadn't remembered from years ago.
It's very controversial.
And yes, they're controversial, but at the same time, they're more and more commonplace, indicative of the fact that there's a large, growing part of this economy who are seeing their incomes not improve. And so they're buying inferior goods to the exclusion sometimes of normal goods.
So, if it's a negative, it's inferior. So what if it's a positive?
What do we call that good?
Normal.
A normal good. Most goods are normal. If you're running Publix, a Publix grocery store, and the economy's doing well, people are getting pay raises, incomes are rising, typically you sell more of just about everything. You sell more cereal, you sell more steak, you sell more of everything, except inferior goods. So if you're Publix, what have you been doing over the last 8 or 10 or 20 or 30 years?
Investing in Publix brand
Good. Why?
because it's an inferior good.
Perfect. Store brands are inferior goods. You can get F&P or you can get Del Monte. Oh, there's Publix. Looks the same. It's cheaper. Is it the same quality?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I think so too. I think so too.
I have convinced myself that it is.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think it is. And I've read stories about the fact that the same people that are actually canning those beans, they just put a different wrapper on the damn thing.
Yeah.
So yes, I think Publix over the last few years has been dedicating more and more shelf space to more and more inferior goods, just because it's good business. Yeah. Now, right now, things are turning a little bit. Incomes are just slightly beginning to rise in this country, finally. And if that continues, as a Publix manager or whatever, I would start looking at readjusting my shelf space and offering more normal goods and fewer inferior goods.
But wouldn't people want to continue buying the inferior goods to save their money or to spend it on things like trips to Paris?
It depends on the people.
Oh.
People's perceptions are their reality. I got into the biggest argument many years ago in this class. I said to the class at large, I said, is there a difference between Gustafson milk and Publix milk? And this one young lady was ready to just knock me out that you couldn't match Gustafson milk. It was better. Any damn fool could taste it and tell. And the rest of the class is looking at her like, what? So perceptions. Some people, when they get a little more money, they're going to buy that damn Gustafson milk. Okay, whatever. So it makes the world go round. All right, normal goods, same kind of calculations. Conceptually, though, negative coefficient, inferior good, positive coefficient, normal good. That shouldn't be too bad. Let's do the cross elasticity for a second. And again, I'm using my symbols, maybe not the books. I use the Greek letter sigma, lowercase. The cross elasticity between good X and good Y. This is the relationship between the price of one good and the quantity of another. The first letter indicated is the quantity, so it's percentage change in the quantity demanded of X, given some percentage change in the price of good Y.
That's a lot.
It is, but conceptually it's pretty simple. Let's let X stand for Coca-Cola and let's let Y stand for Pepsi. What is the sign of this cross-elasticity between these two goods? In other words, if the price of Pepsi goes up, let's make that a positive sign, what happens to the sales of Coke?
They go down. No, the price of Pepsi and Coke goes down.
Price of Pepsi goes up.
Coke's sales go up.
Good. That's an increase in the demand for Coke. What does that do to the price of Coca-Cola? When you increase the demand,
Right.
price goes up. Okay? What I'm telling you is this. When this cross-elasticity between two goods is positive, greater than zero, these goods are substitutes. You would buy one or you would buy the other, and if one of them gets more expensive, you buy the other. Okay so far? Now, in court cases, this has been the defining difference on whether or not companies are competitors. If company A raises their prices and people buy more from company B, courts have said, oh, well, they're competitors, they're substitutes, they're competing with one another. But you got to keep that real clear in your mind when you start an exam, or you get confused. Because what's the alternative? The alternative is the cross-elasticity between A and B. Well, let's say that A is peanut butter and B is jelly. Are those competitors? Are those substitutes?
No.
I'll have a jelly sandwich or I'll have a peanut butter sandwich. What are you, a communist or something? Put them together. Right? What do we call it? Complements. When you buy one, you buy the other. If that's true, that means when the price of jelly goes up, what happens to the amount of peanut butter people buy? Jelly's so damn expensive I don't buy any, and I don't need any peanut butter to go with it, so my demand for peanut butter decreases. And so in this case, the goods are complements, except I can't spell it anymore. And the sign will always be less than zero. It'll always be a negative. Okay so far? What would the sign of the coefficient for the cross-elasticity of gasoline and automobiles be? Positive or negative?
Negative,
Why?
because it's a complement.
Because they're complements. You buy one, you buy the other. Between cars and motorcycles.
Positive.
Positive, because they're substitutes. You buy one or you buy the other. Okay, so far? What would be the sign of the cross-elasticity between Pepsi-Cola and steel?
They have nothing to do with each other.
Good. In fact, there might be a sign, but when you actually measured the coefficient, cross-elasticity, steel and Pepsi. You would say, well, here's the price of Pepsi, here's the sales of steel. When the price of Pepsi goes up 10%, how much does that change the steel sales? And the answer is 0.1. That's about how much. So what would be the cross elasticity of steel, and Pepsi? And the answer is, I don't know whether it's positive, I don't know whether it's negative, but it's going to be about that. They're unrelated. They have nothing to do with each other. Does that help clarify what cross-elasticity is measuring? Some goods don't have much relationship with one another. But as a business owner, what's one of the first things I want to do? Small business. I open my business. I open my taxidermy shop at Stark. What do you suppose one of the first things I wanted to do was? I got out, back then we had the yellow pages. You ever heard of the yellow pages? Yeah. That was in what we called a phone book, right? And you opened up the phone book, which had all the phone numbers in it. Amazing thing. And you went to taxidermy, and you found every taxidermist within 100 miles. And I don't recall. There were something like 10 of them, 12 of them. And I went, aha, that's my competition. So the first thing I want to know is, what's my competition up to? So one of the first things I did, even before we opened the shop, I dressed myself up in my boots and blue jeans and redneck cap, and I went around and visited every damn shop. And I'd walk in and say, hey, how y'all doing? No, I'm thinking about doing some serious deer hunting next year. How much y'all get for a deer head? How long does it take to get it back? What are my options? And I'd start talking to them, and they think I'm a customer. What's going on? They're telling me every damn thing I want to know. And I get in my truck and drive down to the next store. So by the time we open our store, I know exactly what the prices are like and what the other competitive aspects are. And then every year, about June or July, get on the phone and pretend to be some hunter or fisherman and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing some serious deer hunting. What are y'all getting for a deer head this year? And by a little bit of telephone reconnaissance, I know everything about my competition again. And it's all about, what are their prices compared to mine? And if their prices went up a pretty good bit, maybe I should keep mine the same. So all of this is relevant. It's just putting it in concept, a little bit of measurement relative to the real world.
So if we're answering a question about unrelatedness, how do we write that?
You'll have multiple choice answers, which is, I think, a godsend for a lot of folks. Because when I've given essay exams in this course, it's bizarre, some of the answers I get. You'll have an answer. If it says the cross-elasticity of steel and peanut butter, then it'll be, positive 0.46, negative 0.33. Somewhere it'll get 0.00001.
So it's always that one, that very, 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 very slim unrelated.
Yeah. What do you suppose is the income elasticity of salt?
Same thing.
Why?
Because you're never going to buy a ton of salt, and it really doesn't matter. Your income is really no relation.
You mean if you doubled your income tomorrow, you wouldn't go out and buy 10 pounds more salt every month?
No.
Thank God.
What if you buy an ice cream machine?
I told you, there's one. I get one in every class. You happen to come to the class today. You're right. But I don't like ice cream, so it doesn't matter, okay? How about that?
But as a consumer,
You're right in that narrow sense. But as a general rule, if people's incomes go up, you're going to sell more salt in your public store. The answer is no. So what's the cross-elasticity measurement going to be? What's the coefficient?
You mean income with salt?
Yeah.
Because I was going to say you're not really relating it to anything else.
Yeah, I'm saying income and salt.
Oh, okay.
Good. So if incomes go up, incomes go down, salt sales are going to fall? I don't think so. Can you think of any other goods that might have an income elasticity that is very, very low, that purchases of this good are virtually unrelated to how much income a person earns? You're giggling. Go ahead.
There's certain products that I purchase that it doesn't matter how expensive they are, I'm going to purchase them. Like,
Toilet paper and toothpaste.
yeah, that's right.
Let's start right there. Exactly. maybe the brand name you buy might change. You know? Okay. What do you have any? This is kind of the overview I wanted to cover today. Do you have any other specific questions you'd like to go over? Okay.
I feel like I can finish the quizzes now.
Good.
Because I started them and I was stressing trying to get them all done, but I really had no idea how to do the calculations. So I was like, I'm just going to wait so I know what I'm doing.
Now, here's what I would like you to do. If you're not sure about something, post it on the discussion forum and send me an email. Because I don't always check the discussion forums, but I read email 2 or 3 times a day.
Okay.
And if you put something on the discussion forum, I'll go look and see. And if somebody's got the right answer, I'll probably say, hey, that's great. And if nobody's answering or they got a wrong answer, I'll enter the discussion forum and say, no, look at this or consider that. But that's a good way to interact with me and hopefully some of the other classmates.
Okay.
There's another thing that I have just found, I don't know if you've seen it, Smart Thinking. It's the online tutoring. You can write them a question, because I couldn't figure out something. I'm like, I think I'm missing something. I wrote out the whole question because there wasn't anybody online, and they wrote it back step by step and explained it to me. You can set up one-on-one tutoring with them. They have drop-in tutoring, and it's for a multitude of courses. I just happened to find it.
Smart Thinking.
It's called Smart Thinking.
And it's in the left-hand column on Canvas?
Yes, but not in your class, which is
Really?
weird. I found it when I went into my workers and diversity, and all of a sudden I saw this thing that said Smart Thinking, and I thought, what is that?
I'll
And
find
I
it.
clicked on it, and I'm like,
If it's out there, I'll get it on our class
you
too.
can also send in your essays. They will review them, send those. It's amazing. Amazing.
Great, because you have an essay due in this class on July the 1st.
I saw that and I was like, I'm really glad that I saw
I'm
that
almost
now.
I got to tell you, I am amazed at how many people have not read the syllabus or paid any attention to the directions in this course.
Oh, I started doing that essay a little bit out of time each.
I had people writing me saying, where's the test? When's the test?
Oh, yeah.
And this is the day before the test.
Did you refer to them, to your stupid questions to me? I love that video.
I'm more tactful than that. But, oh, yeah. I've got a poster digitized I want to put. It's a guy, looks a little bit like me, but he's got his shirt on and he's ripping it open. And it reads across here, it's in the syllabus. That's close.
Good. Do we have time? Like maybe we could go over a couple of the questions
Sure.
that were on the quizzes?
Sure. Read me one.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Assume the price elasticity for demand for U.S. Frisbee Co-Frisbees is 0.5. The company increases the price of each Frisbee from 12 to 16. The number of Frisbees demanded will...
Okay. That's my shorthand for what you just read me, right? The price is going to go from 12 to 16. What's the percentage change there? It's the change over the average. Okay so far? It went up by 4, and the average between the two is 14.
Right.
4 over 14 is 2/7, which is about 0.29, 29%.
Okay.
So what do I know? I know that negative 0.5, the price elasticity of demand, equals the change in price, which is going to go up 29%. What is the percentage change in sales? That's what I want to learn. You tracking with me on that?
Yeah, so we're going to do what we just learned how to do.
Yep.
And we're not going to cross multiply.
Yeah,
We are.
we're going to multiply this times this.
Oh, right.
Okay, so the percentage change in quantity is going to be 0.5 times 29, and it's going to be a negative, because it's a positive times a negative.
Okay.
Well, half of 29 is about 14.5. So I would tell you the sales of Frisbees are going to fall by about 14.5%.
Hey, you're right.
Of course I'm right. But do you follow what I did? I went back to this whole kind of thing we've done earlier today. There's no substitute, as you've said, for just continually doing these things again and again and again and trading them back and forth. Yes, ma'am, you had a question.
Yeah, so how did you get the 29? So do you convert that point to 9?
Yeah, I said 7 into 20, or 7 into 2.
Is 0.29.
About 0.29.
So you change it to 29.
Yes, when I put the percentage change in here, I just use the whole number. If I had used the decimals, I meant to show you this earlier. If I had said this was 29%, then this would have come out 0.145, which is 14.5%. You get the same answer, it's just whether the decimal point is here or here.
So, but like if I'm answering on the test, I need to convert because.
Doesn't matter. You can leave it as decimal, or you can leave it as a whole number. But if you have decimal here, you'll get decimal here. If you have whole number here, you'll get a whole number here.
So if we get a decimal in the end, we would get, so if we left it as a decimal, 0.29,
You would get 0.145 down here.
and that would probably be one of the multiple choice answers.
Yeah. Or 0.15 or something close enough.
And that would be wrong.
Oh, that'd be right.
So you have 2 right answers.
No. I would try very hard not to have but one right answer. If there were 2 right answers, I would give you credit for either one. But, yeah.
And then so, but we could easily, because it's asking you, because the question is asking you, I don't know what the question is. Well, I'm thinking that it's asking you like what percentage is it changing, and the way to do that would be to just multiply the answer by 100, and you would get 0.145 turned into a percent.
14.5%.
Right. Yeah, I guess we're just gonna have to practice these. Because I would get that answer and I'd be like, that's, or 0.145. And then I would be like, well, that closest answer to that is 14.5. But then if 0.145 and 14.5 are both answers.
If they're both answers, they're both correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Depending on how the question was worded, at the
Right.
very last part of the question. What happens to the sales of Frisbees? Frisbee sales will fall by, and then if it had this, it's correct. Or if it had 4.5%, that would be correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And hopefully none of the questions have 2 answers like that. It's just one right answer. The big thing is you might have 2 answers that said 14.5%. One of them would say sales increase and the other would say sales decrease, and you should be able to pick that one out. Anytime you raise price, sales decrease. Okay?
Okay.
Other questions?
I have mine. I can keep asking.
Go ahead.
Let's see. I'm trying to get the ones like this one. It was just like 3 numbers, but I guess that would be price elasticity of demand because I kept getting confused. I was like, why is there like 3 numbers as opposed to 4 to plug into this problem? But now that makes sense. Okay, let's see.
If you were using the book solution, you had 4 different numbers to play with. Q1, Q2, P1, P2.
But then some problems only gave you 3 numbers to play with in the quizzes.
Yeah, the ones, particularly my quizzes, would only give you 3 of them because I don't use it
Right.
formula.
Okay. Sam owns, no, wait, that's not a good one. Suppose computer prices at an office supply store fall from 1,000 to 900,
Right?
and as a result, the quantity demanded of typewriters decreases from 40 to 20 per month. The cross-price elasticity of demand is closer to...
Good. Good question. We have the price of computers going from 100 to 900 and sales of typewriters dropping from 40 to 20. What is the cross elasticity between the two? How do you set up the cross elasticity? Again, my symbol sigma. Which one of those elements goes on the top of the calculation? Quantity always goes on top. Which product did they give you the quantity for? Typewriters. They said typewriters went from 40 to 20. So you had a change of 20 over an average of 30. Typewriters. Another product that many students have no idea what we're talking about. You okay with that?
How do you know that they're talking about cross elasticity?
Because they're two different goods. Good question. That's exact. And what you've really illustrated with that question is when you read these questions, you're looking for certain information. And you can read them a little lightly at first. You go, oh, two goods, cross elasticities. Oh, income and sales, income elasticity. And then you can get into the details. I think a lot of people dig into the details without remembering where they are. So go ahead. You understand how I got 20 over 30 for the percentage change in quantity?
Yes.
The quantity, what's the percentage change in quantity? It's the change over the average. It changed from 40 to 20, and the average is, add them together, divide by 2, 30. So that's my percentage change in quantity. How do I calculate my percentage change in price for computers now? It's always change over average. It changed 100. The average is 950. And then you can convert to decimal. Everybody with me on that calculation?
I didn't calculate it.
Okay.
I should have.
Well, I took my percentage change in price and put it down here. I converted both of these to decimals. I did the division. 6.3 is the coefficient. Is it positive or negative?
Is that something you get from the question?
Mhm. What was the change in price? Was it positive or negative?
Negative.
It fell, so this is a negative. What was the change in quantity?
Negative.
From 40 to 20. This was a negative, so the coefficient is positive.
Okay.
Are these good substitutes or complements? Yep.
For the computers, it says 100. Is that supposed to be 1,000?
No, it's the change. From 1,000 to 900 was the change was 100,
Okay.
okay? And the average was 950.
Okay.
So this was quantity of typewriters and price of computers. And we should recall, anytime the cross elasticity is positive, by definition, they're substitutes. Or we could have looked at them and said, gee, people either buy computers or they buy typewriters, they're substitutes, aha, it'll have a positive cross elasticity. Is that okay? Comfortable with it? Okay. Other questions?
Can I ask a question that's not problem specific?
Sure.
Did you have this session for us to come in because this is one of the harder topics for us to grasp? And will there be opportunities in the other chapters to do this as well? Like what, I know that's kind of inside info, but what prompted you to do this?
I had a few students who did not do well on the first exam that when I looked at the effort they had put in, they had done a hell of a lot of quizzes and practice, hadn't done well. And that prompted me to say, well, maybe a little bit of in-class time for those students, at least, would make the difference.
Okay.
I was hopeful that a number of other students who didn't perhaps do so well would also show up. It was pleasant to have 5 of you.
I thought I was going to do pretty well. Like, I felt pretty confident, but I got a 73. So,
You know, I think that first exam, and to me, the second exam is the worst, the stuff we're doing right now. But the first exam's a killer because you really don't know what to expect.
yeah, because
And
I
I
was
would-
studying the questions,
Yeah.
and then I got on the exam and I was like, these are not the questions from the quizzes.
And they rarely will be.
Right.
But the intent is, okay, I know these questions, I know them, I haven't simply memorized answers, so conceptually I can discuss that in a different context,
Right.
and now you're ready.
And that's how you really know it.
Yes, but that's not how, unfortunately, so much of our public education system seems to teach people. It seems to teach them to memorize this, vomit it back on the test, and now you have an A.
Yeah.
Doesn't work in the real world either. So I would say that anybody that made a C or better on the first exam did well. But if you learn from that, your grades will improve.
I saw someone made 100. No, you didn't. It was you.
I made 100.
Two people made 100.
Really?
Good job.
Yeah, and like, but I needed this so much for
That's
this.
what I found interesting is, yeah, you did extremely well, but you showed up here today anyway. You must be very bored. That's all I can.
I know, I'm missing work right now. I was like, I'm taking half a day off.
That's awesome. Good for you.
But that's, this is
Well,
something
so good that you came.
Yeah.
I can't get across to people in this course, is that it takes a hell of a lot more time and effort than most other courses or most students are used to applying in most other courses.
Oh, there's no getting by.
Well, I can go back on Connect and I can tell how many quizzes you took. And you can take up to 6 per chapter. And particularly with the students that didn't do well, the majority, not all, the majority, they did 1 quiz per chapter at the most. And many times on those quizzes, they made 40, 50, 60%. So they didn't know the material. And yet they walked down there and took the damn test. And,
What's interesting is you learn more as you take the quizzes.
well, the quizzes, when I give you a 15-question quiz, it's drawn from a pool of 30 questions. If you only take it one time, you only saw 15 of the 30 questions.
Right.
If you take it 3 times, there's a good chance you've seen them all.
Right.
And I have tried to convey that repeatedly. But I am awestruck by the fact that the average in-state student spends what? $420 on this course and then does nothing in the way of preparation for exams, or very little. So I am delighted to come in like this and meet with people who actually give a damn. It is such a rare thing that anytime you want to meet again, we can get enough interest, I'm more than willing to come in like this.
Definitely.
Now, I have a difficulty coming in the evenings, but certainly like this. Yeah. So keep me posted, and we'll maybe see how many people are interested. But, for 5 of y'all, sure, let's do it, no problem.
Great. This has been awesome.
I started with 21st test and I still didn't do well.
I think there's some subtle difference in there that I haven't got a handle on. People have put in a lot of time and effort and then not done well. And I'm not sure what the gap is. I'm not sure what they're not seeing.
I
And the
think-
only solution I have is repeated problems, repeated applications, repeated quizzes.
And I think you're right about like switching up the problems, because that was my problem. It's like I did all the quizzes for the first exam. I did all the quizzes and I had all the problems from all the quizzes so I could like read over them, and I didn't memorize them or anything, but I just felt really confident. But then going and taking the exam, and I was like, some of these questions I've never seen before. So I was just like kind of like new environment and, just new questions. It kind of just threw me off. Like I thought I was going to like get like a 90 or something. And then like seeing a 73, I was like, whoa, like this is not what I wanted or expected. So I think to be comfortable with that unexpected question and like, this is okay, I got this, like this is what I need to do, especially with questions like these. where you're doing a formula. First you figure out what your formula is going to look like, how to set it up, and then do it.
How to apply it in different ways.
Right.
I think that's part of the difference in this course and a lot of others. A lot of other courses are rote memorization. You know, what date, did this happen? Who was the general in charge of that? Who said this? Rote memorization. This isn't rote memorization. This is kind of like, you better memorize these damn formulas.
This is like
But here's
preparing-
22 different ways and you may have to use them.
Yeah, this is like preparing, this is like taking a math course.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote those formulas over and over again, like every chance, because I couldn't do it without those formulas. And so I would write them, and I wrote them when I was in the car, and I wrote them when I was studying, and I walked into the testing place, got my paper, and wrote the 3 formulas as the first thing before I even did it. Because when I found out we couldn't have notes, I was really disturbed. I was like, I'm never going to remember. And now I remember them.
That's good though. It paid off for you.
Now see, that's calculations and formulas.
Yeah.
And certainly that's going to be valid with this test. When we get through with this test, we get heavy into graphs. And you've got to be able to draw the graphs and know them. You won't have to draw them for an exam. They'll be shown to you. But there's so many of them that if you don't practice drawing them and analyzing them, they'll blow you away. So it's the same idea. A lot of people walk into the third, fourth, in particular the fifth exam, and the first thing they do is they take their scratch paper and they go, okay, this is this one, this is this one, this is this one, now open the test.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah.
I think I drew out every single problem, even if I thought I knew it.
I think with supply and demand, you should. I've told people that before. Draw every one of them out. Yeah.
Even like the problems we're working today, like every single one.
I don't know that you need to draw the graphs because it may just be a calculation that's
Right.
required. But I think you need to draw the, set up the formula,
P1,
restate the formula.
P2, Q1, Q2.
No P1s, no P2s, no Q1s, no Q2s, except if you do it my way. Average, change over the average. But I would be drawing, E sub D equals percentage change quantity, percentage change price, equals change price over average price, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't think it hurts, especially when you're preparing, but maybe even on the exam
I'm like
too.
excited to go home and take the quizzes.
Yeah.
Good.
Do you guys want to exchange numbers?
Yes.
I think that's a good idea.
Yes.
Let me offer one other suggestion. In Microsoft Office, or else Microsoft Office has something called a snipping tool. You go down to accessories and you'll find it. If you come across a question in the practice quizzes and you go, what the hell is this? Get the snipping tool out, capture the screenshot, bring it to class, or send it to me.